finds himself just a few wins away from passing Duffy Daugherty and becoming the winningest coach in Spartans history. Brings back a lot of offensive production. The offense wasn't where he wanted it to be a year ago, but injuries were a huge part of that. You see Brian Lewerke, the quarterback, coming back. We talked with Joe Bocci a little while ago as the Spartans, I guess you would say, try to bounce back from a 7-6 year. You know, it was interesting in talking to the players as Mark Dantonio joins us now, and I think there was a unanimous feeling that it does need to be a bit of a bounce back year. But, you know, again, you guys have set such a high bar and such an incredible standard in East Lansing. It's still a bowl season. It's a winning record. How do you process last year, and how do you kind of frame it for your guys heading into this season?
Yeah, I think you're right, Dave. You know, when you look at our football program, expectations are high. 7-6 doesn't cut it. It really doesn't. You know, and for a lot of programs, maybe it does right now. But for us, where we've been, where we've gone before, you know, we expect to compete for a championship, and I think we're in a place to be able to do that.
No great secret what I'm sorry,
No,
Gerry.
go ahead,
No great secret what the biggest issue was last year, and it was the offense, and injuries were an immense part of that. I mean, I don't think you can overstate how banged up you guys were on that side of the ball. That being said, how do you kind of move that offense forward? Because it's been a few years now since you've been at the level that I would think you'd really wanted it to be at. How do you get it back to where it was a few years ago?
Yeah, we had a lot of injuries. We had 5 punters punt for us. That ought to give you an indication for how things were. But you know, you've got guys missing games, and they're missing conditioning, and they're missing tempo, and they're missing some type of organization things in terms of on the field. But I think that what we've done right now is we've sort of revamped our offense philosophy-wise. Got some same things in there that because we've retained a lot of the same staff, but we moved people to their positions of expertise, back to their initial positions. So I think it's we're primed. We're ready to go. We got a great defense that we can focus on, and great foundation in that respect.
And it was unusual what you did, right? Most coaches would have maybe changed schemes, changed coaches, fired coaches. One of your best one-liners, and you've had a lot of them in 13 years, was you didn't do any pixie dust and bring somebody new in to change everything, but you changed everyone's position. What brought you to that? It is an unusual move.
Yeah, you know, when I sat back and I understood that there had to be some changes made, and I looked at our coaches, and I looked at also their offensive coaches, and I looked at all the successes that they had, the teaching progression, the teachers that they've become, the relationships really that they have existing with their players. And I really just didn't want to say, hey, let's start over and bring somebody in who doesn't know number 27 from number 32. They don't know how good he is. They don't know what he's experiencing off the field. They didn't recruit him. They don't know their family. They don't know their history. They don't know what worked. They don't know what did not work. So from my perspective, it was much easier to say, let's change people around a little bit. Let's keep some of the things, at least the relationships and the understanding of the history of what's transpired, and let's move forward to collectively as a group. And, you know, I'm going to be loyal to our coaches, maybe to a fault, I don't know. But, you know, that's the way I decided to do things, and I think that'll be productive and pay off in the future.
You would think it would bring the coaches even closer, right? The loyalty. I mean, it's just such an unusual way of doing it. You would think it would be nothing but positive on their side.
Oh, I got these guys. I've been with these guys for a long period of time, long time, and they're good coaches, and they're good men, and don't confuse the two. They're good men too. They care about their players. They're good family men, and I just think the situation warranted it. I mean, we're a program that, you know, that's going to if you don't win 9 or 10 games, people want to know why.
Right.
I mean, you know, we've won 85 games in the decade, which I think is 13th in the country right now, and the decade's not over. So there's a lot of positives to build on, and you've got to be able to do that sometimes.
Can you feel the boost in staff meetings when you've done that? Because the chemistry stays the same, but now the way the game is looked at or approached by different coaches coaching different positions, can you feel that when you're in the room when you're discussing?
Yeah, you can't be thin-skinned, certainly. I mean, we're talking about philosophy here a lot. You got to be able to accept why things happen, and okay, what's my responsibility in that? And you got to collectively take a look at it and say, okay, how can we change and change for the better? And I think we've done that. And at the end of the day, you know, you got to have players be able to play. And you know, you got injuries, you got a lot of things you cannot control. So you got to take that into the formula as well, and look at that and say, okay, how did that equate to wins and losses? But we're so close. I mean, if you really look at our football team, we're in every football game in the fourth quarter. So we're close. We're not that far away from being a championship again, which is a lot of places that have not yet been to a championship game or in that position. So we've been there. We know how to get there. These guys understand that aspect and can move forward.
So how much of your defensive background is a perspective that the offensive coaches can appreciate? When you say, this is what's given me trouble in the past, I mean, how much of that goes on?
Yeah, that goes on a lot,
Right.
obviously. Every time I walk in that offensive room. But, that's me. I'm in the defensive room, and so I walk in there, I tell the defensive guys, hey, I'll be right back. And then I walk in there and say, hey, why aren't we doing this? We need to do that. But that's a part of it. That's a part of that's part of my offensive temperament, I guess. But I also listen, try and do a good job listening. And like I said, we're going to be better on that side of the ball. We've got experience coming back. And just a year ago, we were sitting here talking about Brian Lewerke, as a Heisman hopeful. And he's the only quarterback in Michigan State history that passed for 2,500 and ran for 500 in a single season. So he's got the goods. We just need to reaffirm ourselves. We need to stay healthy. We'll be fine.
I think one of the places where you have to stay healthy and also continue to be developed and dominant is in the offense and defensive line. And I think since you first got there when we started watching, that's really been one of the areas I thought that's really taken off for you and you've really continued to build on. How do you feel about both lines of scrimmage at this point?
Well, I think our defensive line may be as good as anybody's in the country. I really do. I mean, we're deep at that position. We've got very good defensive tackles. We've got two guys in Panasuk and Raekwon Williams, who are probably at the top of the heap in terms of inside players in the conference, and Naquan Jones and Jacob Slade are two guys that have played a lot of football and are very good players as well. Panasuk returns. Willikis returns as well as a preseason All-American. And so I think we're pretty good on the defensive line, quite honestly. We need to be. We led the nation in the rushing defense, and I think we're in the top 10 in maybe 5 categories defensively. And then, in 17, we were number 2 in the nation. So we're strong up front. Linebackers are good. Bocce is a great player. And so I'm excited about the foundation of what we have defensively. Now, Mike Tressel's done a great job as a coordinator, but we're not going to anoint anybody here, but the foundation is strong.
Coach, what's the best thing for college football with the portal, the transfer rules, the appeal process? What should we do?
Oh, boy, I get to be in a position to make decisions.
Yeah, you do. Let's say you're
I would say everybody can transfer into the portal, and they can be immediately eligible for 4 games only.
Really?
And break that aspect like a red shirt.
Never heard that. So
I think that would satisfy both ends of the stick there.
Wow. That's why I asked.
You won't have to go through all that stuff. You say, hey, yeah, you can play. Have at it. But you can only play for 4 games.
Okay.
And maintain your redshirt year. You can still maintain your redshirt year in doing that, so you don't lose a year. So what happens with transfer students when they're made immediately eligible is that they don't graduate.
Right.
Because they lose credits transferring. So the percentage of them graduating goes down vastly. So you want to graduate those players, so they need to continue to have that year to, that redshirt year, but you also have to let them play a little bit to experience what it is to transfer. So I would be in favor of that.
Interesting.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
You're right.
No,
I did hear it here first. Yeah. That's
so you're open
I'm a
to
trailblazer.
Well, you are. Well, no, you've been around the game a long time. And you're open to discussing it at least, and not just saying kid's a quitter or whatever everyone's saying.
I think sometimes people need change, but
right.
I do think 2,500 guys going into the portal is.
I understand.
Is there's not 2,500 scholarships out there.
Right.
Some guys are, it's that musical chair. Some guys are without a seat, and that's not good.
Yeah, and I think the NCAA can give you some relief by averaging 85. Some years you might have 90. Some years you might have less than 85. Give the coaches 4 years to average 85 to take care of some of the roster problems.
I want to ask you about Raekwon Williams. He was up here a little while ago. He's an incredibly impressive kid. People who watch The Journey know how powerful his story is. They did a tremendous piece on him. He's been through a lot of tragedy in his life. What does it mean to have him here in his hometown representing your school?
It's huge. I mean, there was no question that Raekwon was going to be one of the guys that comes. He's been a tremendous person. He's worked through problems. He's become a tremendous, outstanding football player. But he's going to graduate. I joked in there, but I was serious about it. His goal is to be the mayor of Chicago. So you know, you guys may be working for him. But
That works.
But he's just a tremendous person. He's a giver, and he makes it. You know, the problems that he's gone through. Because of those problems, you lose a football game or something happens in football. That's trivial. Those are small issues, and he can help other people overcome those things. And he can be a strong leader, and has become a very strong leader in our locker room.
Head coach of the Spartans, Mark Dantonio. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, I got to talk
visit
about.
with you.
I got to talk about my cufflinks.
No.
Oh,
No,
Talk
really?
about those now.
Wow.
Those are Biggie Munn's cufflinks
Seriously?
really?
that he wore in the '57 Rose Bowl.
Really?
And now,
Okay,
how?
so I broke
give
those
us the
out.
story of
How'd you get 'em?
How you got him? Yeah.
Well, I got him because a guy gave them to me that goes to auctions and stuff like that, and he purchased them. He gave them to me about 10 years ago, and I've never worn them.
What was that about?
Well, because I've never really had to wear a shirt needed cufflinks. But my daughter got married this year, so I had to get a shirt with. The guy wouldn't. He said, "You need a shirt with cufflinks," so here I am. But I thought I should bring that one up.
That tells you how
Been here 13
that tells
years.
you how
I feel
coaching's
comfortable.
changed, right?
I feel comfortable.
From cufflinks to stocking caps.
Yeah. So but
These
it's
guys,
all
wear,
good.
these guys wear cufflinks all the time.
Yeah, I'm wearing them right now.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
Oh, really?
That's
Not
a
today.
surprise.
But it's
Mine
all
are
good.
not
We're
big
looking
enough.
forward to this year. We're primed. I can't say enough about our football team in terms of the way they've handled things off season and the way they've come forward. So we're looking forward to it.
Well, we are looking forward to seeing your camp in East Lansing. Always one of our favorite stops.
Yes, indeed.
Thanks a lot, Coach.
Go